Let's get a sense of what this means for the PDP and, in fact, for the state of the race as far as 2023 election is concerned. We have in our Abuja studio a former aviation minister and a member of the screening committee of the vice presidential ticket of the PDP. I have Mr. Osita Chidoka, who joins us live now. Thank you so much, Mr. Chidoka, for joining us. How does this come to your party first and foremost? Because I know the feeling must... there will be those who have expressed their feelings about the emergence of Senator Ifeanyi Okowa. And perhaps, first and foremost, how did you arrive at the choice of Ifeanyi Okowa? Knowing full well that there were 3 or 4 choices before the party. In Nyesom Wike of River State, Ifeanyi Okowa of Delta State, the former governor of Imo State and former deputy speaker of the House of Representatives and the former SGF Pius Ayim. All these 4 were the top in the running for that role. How did you achieve or how did you arrive as Senator Ifeanyi Okowa?
Well, first and foremost, just to clarify a point, I wasn't a member of the selection committee. So there was a committee set up by the candidate, Atiku Abubakar, who evaluated the choices before them and then presented it to him, and he made his final choice. So I wasn't a member of that committee. I'm a member of the screening committee, which is a statutory requirement that candidates will be presented for public office by political party, that we go, the PDP has a process that requires us to screen them and be sure that they meet the minimum constitutional requirements. Of course, he is already a governor, but we had to go through that process to confirm his documents, his certificates, and all that is required by law to make him qualified to be on that ticket. So that's what we did after the fact. So I wasn't a member, and I didn't know how they arrived at this decision.
Yeah, I know exactly that you are a member of the screening committee. You were not part of the selection process, but you might be privy to some information. But let's get it clear. How many people were presented before your committee for screening?
No, we only screened the vice presidential candidate. We only screened the person nominated by the presidential candidates. So we were not presented with options. It was just to screen him. It was after the announcement that we went into the screening.
Okay, it was after the announcement we saw at Wadata House before the screening. Yes. Now went on. So give us a sense of the feeling in the party, because there are a few people whose name came up. What are the thoughts of the generality of your members of the members of your party about the choice of Ifeanyi Okowa ahead of the likes of Nyesom Wike, Pius Ayim, and of course the former deputy speaker of the House, Emeka Ihediawa?
Well, I think that the choice of Ifeanyi Okowa, like I said, I wasn't part of the process that chose him, but I could see that there is wide acceptability amongst party people. Of course, there will be disappointment for those who didn't make the final cut, and many of us had, opinions about who should and who shouldn't. But what we have today is that Atiku Abubakar is going to run with Ifeanyi Okowa, and that's where we are. And I think that that has generated some form of wide acceptability within the party. He's a governor of the PDP. He's particularly a party man. The famous Port Harcourt Convention that many people praised, he was the chairman of that convention. He was the chairman of the electoral panel, and I think of the convention committee that made that convention work very well. He's a stickler for details, and he has shown great interest in the work of the party over the years. So I think that his appointment was widely welcomed by members of the party.
Yourself, a very strong party man. You've helped the party in general elections, and you've also helped to midwife processes administratively as far as the PDP is concerned. Now, how does the choice of an Ifeanyi Okowa, a South man, a governor, because he belongs to all of these blocks governor, as a member of the Governors Forum of your party, a former senator, and someone who is from the South-South region of the country, and your presidential candidate from the Northeastern region of the country. Would you say that your party has made the choices, I mean the choices now of Ifeanyi Okowa and Atiku Abubakar, that will guarantee you a win at the election?
Well, to start with, I think that I was particularly strong in my voice that the party should zone the office of the president. So 2 zones in the 2 regions, actually 3 zones, have not occupied the office of the president. That is the Northeast, the North Central, and the Southeast. And I said, because the president currently is coming from the North, we should zone it to the South. So we zone to the South. The party jettisoned the idea of zoning for many reasons, and then we had an all-open game, and Atiku Abubakar won. Now, the choice of vice president from amongst the governors is a very strategic and choice, because the governors, the preponderance of PDP governors are second-term governors. In 2019, they were first-term governors, so they were not available to join a ticket. But now that the governors are on their second term, they're a very powerful bloc in any party. If you remember, in 1993, exactly 30 years ago, during the June 12th election, it was the SDP governors that insisted that Abiola must pick Babagana Kingibe as his running mate. And of course, that led us to the Muslim ticket that actually won the election, because the governors are a very powerful bloc. So as a very powerful bloc, the governors are there. Ifeanyi Okowa, interestingly, occupies 2 reigns. You know, there are Igbos beyond the Southeast, so he is an Igbo not in the Southeast. Then he is in the South-South. So that kind of presents him in a very interesting milieu, that he is an Igbo in the South-South, and that makes a lot of difference. So I'm sure he gave him some notches in the contest for who becomes the vice president. But beyond the geopolitics of the ticket is the fact of what an Ifeanyi Okowa brings to the table. For me, in the last 7 years of my looking at the PDP governors, one of the interesting things I've seen is that Delta states used to be a hotbed of ethnic disagreements and rivalry. We're always hearing of the Robo Ishekiri problem, of the, the Northern Delta and the Riverine Delta. But in the 7 years of Okowa, Delta has remained largely peaceful. Interestingly for me, that he must have worked a template that has kept Delta State, very peaceful. And there is nothing we need in Nigeria today than bringing that skills to harmonizing our various ethnic groups and making Nigeria again a peaceful country, managing our diversity, which the APC government has damaged greatly in the 7 years that they've been in office. So I think that if we take Ifeanyi Okowa as a governor of Delta, managing a multi-ethnic state with all the challenges that Delta presents in Nigeria, and has kept it peaceful over the last 7 years, I think that something is going on there that we need to understudy. Because the promotion of peace is critical for nation building. If you cannot get all the forces at play to work together, then you cannot get any economic process, any economic growth to happen. Then you can't get any security system to work. So I think that the task before the government in 2023, and I believe it will be a PDP government, will be to heal the fault lines of Nigeria, to use our wide existence in the whole of the country to remind Nigerians that though tribes and tongues may differ, but that in brotherhood we stand. We need to build that again, rebuild the fault lines of the country. And that, for me, is significant that our presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, looked in the way of Governor Okowa, because he brings that skill set, he brings that capacity to negotiate, that capacity to get everybody involved to the ticket as a vice presidential candidate. And secondly, he brings also a very interesting area of experience, having worked as a local government chairman, a commissioner in Delta State. He has worked as secretary to government in Delta, a senator in the National Assembly, and now a governor in a state. He comes with very, very intimidating resume of experience from the lowest level of government to now going to the highest levels of government. So I think that for local government people in Nigeria, those who think that the local government hasn't done well, here is somebody who is coming from that level who will speak for them. For those who have, the National Assembly, which is the hotbed, which is the place where we negotiate all our budget, all our agreements, constitutional issues and on non-constitutional issues, that presents us another opportunity, that we have a vice president who has a National Assembly experience. And then we have a vice president who has an executive experience as a governor of a state, who has managed people, managed resources, and is capable of bringing that experience to bear on his job as vice president. And lastly, for me, is also his resume as a person. I mean, this is a Division 1 student in the days of school sat in the 1970s when he's graded to Division 1, Division 2, meaning that he's an all-A student. And he became a medical doctor at the young age of 22. There is something to say about us bringing people that have very interesting academic backgrounds, because the promotion of ignorance, the promotion of what I call normalization of bad behavior in Nigeria is such that we must show young people that paying the price, going to school, making good grades in school can also lead you on a path of a political life and lead you to the top of that political, on the echelon of politics. And I think that that is the three ways I view his candidacy, his joining that ticket beyond even the geopolitics of it. I think that this is a good ticket for the PDP.
Let me take you to the geopolitics, and I'll take you to a very hotbed of the political debate in Nigeria presently, which is the zone where you come from, the southeast region of the country, where a lot of, I've heard this commentary about the choice of Ifeanyi Okowa, which some of your friends in the Southeast have said the PDP has obviously ignored the clamor from the Southeast region, and they've taken for granted that the PDP has always held sway in the Southeast and always won presidential election in the Southeast. And some of them have said that the PDP will pay dearly for these neglect of the Southeast region of the country. What kind of danger do you think this portends for your party?
Well, it's potentially a problem because, like you said, PDP, the Southeast has been a very strong supporter of the PDP. The Southeast have always cast its lot behind the PDP. At this time, I think that what we should focus on now is the fact that what happened in 2022 is a pointer to everybody. By becoming vice president, it is not a straightforward shot to becoming a president. So we saw Vice President Osibanjo come third in the primaries of APC. Vice President Atiku Abubakar didn't succeed Obasanjo in 2007. So it is not a pathway. So what I think the South is going to be doing, what we'll be doing is to recalibrate our politics, recalibrate our presence in the PDP, and continue our strong push for a president from the Southeast. And at this time, I think that we will gain further mileage because by default, the country giving the presidency to the Northeast means that we are following some sort of zoning. The Northwest had gone, the Southwest had gone, the Northeast has now gone. So when it's coming down to the South, it will be to the Southeast. So I think we have 4 to 8 years between us and the presidency. We need a strong candidate. We need to continue building on what we have gained already. We need to build ourselves up to be able to present that candidate that will tell the country it is our turn. And that our turn will be fought on the grounds of Eagle Square, on the grounds of wherever the primaries is. We hope that that candidate will be strong enough to elicit votes from across the country because Southeast votes are not going to make us president. No matter how many Southeast votes we garner for ourselves, we need to convince the rest of the country to support our aspirations. So I think that what we need to do, what we are doing now in this election is that we're going to be making that point that it is, we've lost this, but it is not game over for us. The Southeast will reorganize themselves. And as you saw in the APC primaries, I mean, whether people wanted him or not. You saw how the Northern governors came out for the Governor Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So I'm looking forward to our candidates in 2000 and whenever the next presidential election is, next for 8 years, and that candidate will be strong enough to elicit what I will call pan-Nigerian support within a national party and be able to win that election in 2000, whenever it happens. So my point is that the geopolitics now is not favoring the Southeast because our politics, for some reason, we didn't get it right here now. And for some reason, we are looking forward to say that this is not the time for us to sulk. This is not the time. We will show we are not happy. We have shown that and we'll continue to show that. But we're going to re-engage. And this time we are re-engaging to win. And we will win that election.
All right, let's do some quick political mathematics here. And I know that you're very good at that, those kind of readings. So let's do a quick one. Now, if you talk about election in Nigerian politics, it's a game of numbers. And it comes down to election. You want to win election, you have to consider the numbers. So first and foremost, let's look at the biggest zones in the country. You talk about the Northwest region, which has the largest voting population, followed by the Southwest region of the country. Now, you talk about the lowest region by voting population. You talk about the South-South region of the Southeastern region of the country. Now, and the South-South also does not have as much votes compared to the likes of the North Central and the rest. So let's do a quick mathematics. In the top 4 or top 3 of the states with the largest voting population, this state has spread between the Northwest and the Southwest. Now, your candidate, the PDP candidate, is from the Northeastern region, which has the third largest voting population in the 6 geopolitical zones. Your candidate, the vice presidential candidate, comes from the South side, which has about the 5th or the 4th largest voting population. Now, you look at Kwankwaso from NNPP, is of the Northwest, from the region with the largest voting population. The APC presidential candidate, Bola Tinubu, comes from the zone with the 2nd largest voting population in the country. Kola Abiola of the PRP comes from the Southwest. So you go on and you look at all this permutation. Your party has gone to the Northeast and the South-South. In terms of numbers, your candidates, the 2 of them, the pairing, have not come from a very strong population in terms of the voting ratings in the country. How do you hope that this can play out in the end, and considering the fact that Kwankwaso is in the race, Peter Obi is in the race, the areas where your party would have made some inroads, these candidates will definitely make their own inroads and somewhat balkanize votes for your party where you have had your traditional PDP states.
Okay, I don't know how much I want to share our winning strategy with you, but I can tell you what this will be. So if you look at the 1979 election where you had 4 parties, actually 5, running that election. So you had the MPN, you had the UPN, you had the MPP, you had the PRP, and you had the GMPP running the election. And the 3 big boys in the election were Awolowo, Zeke, and to some extent Aminu Kanu and Waziri Ibrahim. But how the election ended was that the candidate with the most acceptability, the party with the most platform that cuts across the nation, won elections from parts of the Northwest, won election in the middle belt of Benue then, Zeke won in Plateau, and then went to Cross River and Rivers to win that election. So meaning that building a pan-Nigerian coalition in a multi-party election is likely going to happen with the party with the best infrastructure on ground across the country. So don't forget that the states in the Northwest that had not been voting PDP were not voting PDP since the advent of President Buhari. Now President Buhari is not on the ballot, so the votes are up in the air because they are not likely to transfer the votes of Buhari to Kwankwanso, and it may not automatically transfer to anybody. So it's up for campaigning. It's up for people to go for. So the point I'm making is that we have our winning strategy. We've thought it through. We know where the votes will come from. We know where to look for those votes. But the most significant thing that happens is that if the candidates of all the other parties, the smaller parties, continue with their momentum toward the election, then we are going to have that 79 scenario, where the party with the best movement across the country, with the party that picks up votes across the country, wins. In 1979, many people do not remember that Shagari did not make 1/3 of the votes in 2/3 of the states, because the 13th state where he could have made 1/3 that was in contention at the Supreme Court was Kano State. So many people are still thinking that Shagari won across the north. No, he couldn't make 25% of the votes in Kano, and yet he made it to becoming president. He had more votes than Chief Awolowo, who garnered all the votes in the southwest, than Nnamdi Azikiwe, who garnered all the southeast votes, Anambra and Imo and Plateau. So the strategy of this election will be more of creating a pan-Nigerian momentum that cuts across and links up with PDP's base to win the election. Okay. And I believe that the months of campaign will show the strategy of all the parties.
We see how that plays out. I enjoy political mathematics. Politics in every sense is science. And everyone that has won election has never won election in history without considering these science. So we see how that pans out. But I must sincerely thank you, former Minister of Aviation, Mr. Osita Chidoka. Thank you so much indeed for coming tonight.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Shem.